The histogram is an extremely useful chart when you want to get a visual idea of how your observations of a variable are distributed across the possible range of values. In this case, we have NBA teams and something called the fan cost index. And if you look at the data, you can see it happens to be a range from high to low values of fan cost index, the lowest being around 182, the highest being up to 453. And what we'd like to do is generate the equivalent of a column chart. And in this case, with numerical data, the chart we create is called a histogram. And there are a few conventions to it. What we're going to do is take the numerical range of data and break up that range of values into categories and use those, in essence, as our categories for generating our column chart. So let's look at how we can do that. There are a couple ways. One involves first creating a frequency table manually or using the frequency function in Excel. And I'll do a separate discussion on how that works. But in this case, we're going to use the data analysis toolkit or tool pack to generate our frequency table and our histogram. And the first thing we need to do is identify some bins. And what looks like a convenient set of bins here would be to have a range from, say, 150 to 200, 200 to 250, and so on, all the way up to 500, let's say, so we capture our highest value. And what we need to do is list in a separate column from our data the upper boundary of those bins. So I'm going to say 200 to capture that first bin that goes from 150 to 200, and then 250, and so on. And I'll actually just select those first two and drag these down to create a series all the way up to 500. So now that I have my values and I have my bins, I can go ahead using the data analysis tool pack and have Excel generate a frequency table and the histogram itself. So I'll go to the data ribbon, and at the very right I have my data analysis tool pack, and I'm going to select histogram and hit OK. It asks me what the input range is. I happen to have been clicked on a cell in my column B, so it defaulted to say, hey, is this the input range that I want? And it happens to be. And it looks to the right and sees the next row as being the possible values for the bins. And if those weren't correct, I could simply select the appropriate bins. It had made the correct guess. One thing that I do want to do is, if I've selected the entire column, including the labels, I want to make sure I check the box so it knows that those first values are going to be labels. All right, now I have the option to display a chart output, and that's what I'll do here. And after that, we just hit OK. And Excel actually goes ahead and creates a new tab where it puts the bins and the frequencies. So it creates a bin that it labels as 200, and it counts the frequency in that bin as 3. And then the frequency in the next bin that it labels as 250 has a count of 7. But remember, those are the upper boundaries of those bins. Let's do a couple of things to make this look a little better. First of all, for histograms by convention, we usually display them with no gaps in between the columns, unlike a column chart. So to change that, I can right-click on any one of these bars, go to Format Data Series, and then simply reduce this gap width to 0. That'll clean things up a little bit. And the next thing that I can do is to change this display so that it's not showing me the 200 right under this bar, but it's really a little bit more accurately showing me the center point of this range right under the center of the bar. So what I really want in here is 175 rather than 200, 225 rather than 250, and so on. And to do that, I need to create a new column here where I'll capture what I'm going to call the midpoints of each bin. So let's see how that works. Again, remembering that my first bin was from 150 to 200, the midpoint of that bin would be at 175. The midpoint of the next bin would be at 225, and so on. And I can select the first two of these and then click on this little drag handle here, and as I pull it down, it's going to just continue a series as created just by the first 2 points. That's a neat trick in Excel. And now what I can do is I can just edit this chart so that I change the label, change the x-axis from showing me these values under bins to showing me the midpoints. So I can select anywhere in my chart area, go to my Design tab, do Select Data, and for my horizontal or category axis label, I'm going to hit Edit. And now rather than the bins being selected, I'm going to select my midpoints. And I'm actually going to leave off this last one that says More, because there's no useful information collected there, because I chose my bins in such a way that all my data is captured in that upper bin. There's no data, no observations above the highest bin. So I hit OK, OK, and now it's replaced my my labels with the center points, with the midpoints of the bins, rather than the upper boundaries of the bins. So a few steps there to creating this histogram. We use the data analysis tool pack, and again, you could also use the frequency function in Excel to generate a frequency table, and then use the insert column chart tool to generate a column chart, and then edit it to, again, look like the histogram by eliminating the gaps in between the adjacent columns. And once again, you can change your formatting and labeling on the histogram to make it look any way you like.